the world is facing a great disaster when the children of the Hemat demon rise up and cause chaos. While other heroes focus on destroying monsters, the foolish Ijin sees this as a competition with leader Vermao. In the end, before killing the Demon King, Ijin died while protecting his love rival who was stabbed before dying. Clearly, he had heard Vermao promise to clean up the remaining 2 Demon Kings, so how could that bastard swallow his words? 300 years later, Iran was reincarnated into a 13-year-old child and read history to find out that the Demon King was still not dead. Even more hateful is having to be the 3rd-generation descendant of the hero Vermao. Damn it, because he did not belong to the main branch of the family, Ijin had to spend 3 days to get to the main house of the family to prepare for the bloodline inheritance ceremony. Knowing that he should not cause trouble before achieving his goal, Ijin still had to take action to punish Cyana's arrogant son just because he thought he belonged to the main line above all. The loser had to be resentful and vowed revenge, but Ijin ignored it. Damn Vermao, from now on I will ruin these descendants because I don't want to be your offspring. That damn reincarnation. Finally, the party discussing the bloodline inheritance ceremony organized by Juliet's family also began. To make the fight fair to become Vermeo's descendant, he invited Tower Master Lobazai as chief judge. Urga realized that this was the 3rd disciple of his crush Cyana. He designed a maze for all children to conquer. Each person enters a different path, finds a way to overcome traps and defeat elite monsters. In terms of safety at the center, you can rest assured that they are all created from illusion magic, and the reward for defeating the final boss is a treasure inside Ijin's family artifact room. With the goal of winning it to restore his own potential strength, he practiced day and night. However, it is inevitable that 2 children of the collateral line Carrick and Desaya will pay attention. Carrick is like an introvert who doesn't bother talking but takes off his shirt to show off his muscles, making Ijin extremely confused. Is this guy advertising enhancement drugs? Desaya seems more normal than her brother Kia. Hearing that Ijin had defeated Xian, she asked for a solo. Also conveniently, he also wanted to learn about the strength of these children, so he agreed to challenge. Right after Carrick Ho started fighting stupidly, Dia immediately jumped up at an extremely fast speed, intending to attack her opponent from above. But suddenly she stopped in front of Aegon's terrifying pressure with no gaps at all. But she had to risk rushing forward, but sure enough all her attacks were blocked by Ijin without slipping any shots. However, with this attack speed, Ijin also has to admit she is not an ordinary type. But how can it compare with me? Ijin quickly ended the fight with a single spear swing that made both Kia brothers surrender. Finally, the day of organizing the competition began and everyone gathered in front of a magic gate. As soon as he stepped inside the maze, Ijin remembered that his hero team had once destroyed this place. Now, relying on experience to move forward, being strong and hacking the game like this, the little ones can only cry out. Indeed, with the status of a collateral line not invested in martial arts, the 3 weakest children could not pass Poster Lamb and had to call the Tower Master to save the remaining children who were still confidently moving forward and quickly past the first gate. However, faster than all was Ijin. At this time he was facing a large monster. This ferocious monster was originally created with superior strength for participants to find a way to bypass, but for Ijin it was just a strength test. In just a moment, he launched hundreds of cuts into the monster and ended with a piercing blow. On the other side, the muscular Carrick also just defeated the monster with countless wounds on his body, even breaking his ribs so he didn't know how much. The powerless guy passed somehow, but as calculated by Tower Master Lobazai, the remaining 3 kids were smart enough to distract the monster to pass without any effort. Finally, everyone arrived at the center and faced the strongest boss in Xian's maze. Being stunned by the terrifying power of this bull demon monster, there was a call that made him startled. It turned out that Ijin had been waiting here for a long time just because he wanted to see who came first but did not expect these 3 children to come here at the same time. Ijin knew early on that he could easily defeat monsters, so he left it for those kids to try their strength. The final boss monster will not attack if it does not enter a certain distance. Based on the order of entering the gate just now, he directed Saya to go first. I will go up after you are all defeated, and if you defeat it then I will call you brother for the rest of my life. It sounds good, so Sin accepted the deal. At this time Dia was extremely struggling when fighting alone with a large bull demon monster. However, she took advantage of her small stature and speed and finally succeeded in piercing a spear into the bull demon's stomach. Despite trying her best, the spear was not buffed with mana, it was just like a toothpick that could not penetrate hard muscles. At this moment it seized the opportunity, grabbed Saya tightly and threw her straight out to end the fight. Clearly this is not a real monster, otherwise she would have died long ago. It's Sin's turn. He confidently held his sword tightly and stepped forward. I will show you that my family's direct bloodline is at a level far different from your collateral lines. Immediately Sion transmitted a large amount of mana into his sword, making it easy to slice through the bull demon's muscles. Not happy for long when mana was completely dissipated, it turned out that to ensure fairness, the maze would not allow any other power than physical art to be used. Although very scared, but because of honor and Iron's nameless Sion still decided to rush up to attack and as a result was thrown down by the monster. Ijin laughed at the defeated man, making Sion furious but unable to do anything. Because Sin pretended to be afraid of losing, so she didn't fight, so this last turn Ijin picked up his sword and soared to face Nguma monster with smart fighting strategy. He did not rush to attack but actively avoided direct blows, then took advantage of his speed and monster's loopholes, successfully tricked it into punching itself in the face. Taking advantage of the bull demon being stunned and exposing its weak arteries, Ijin focused on cutting it countless times until he broke through its tough skin. Finally, he focused his strength on the tip of his sword and finally stabbed it into the open wound, causing the monster to scream in pain as blood flowed out like a waterfall. In the end, Evan won and all the illusions in the maze gradually disappeared, signaling that the ceremony had ended. While Juliet's family was extremely happy and satisfied with the excellent performance of the collateral line child, Tower Master Lobazai was confused because his purpose in creating the bull demon monster was not for a duel. I want those kids to work together and try different methods, but that kid is a monster when he breaks all plans to train the mainline kids. He needs to worry because his superiority will be a big obstacle for his children in this inheritance battle. However, this family owner's point of view is very clear: the position of family owner must be held by the greatest person in Lin Hawk. If they are so weak that they cannot preserve the rights that were given at birth, then they are not worthy of leading Lin Hawk. Anyway, that is a matter of the future. What needs to be done now is to congratulate what has been done. Indeed, for children who lose, this moment is extremely heavy. The worst is that IELTS's eldest child could not even reach the middle of the maze due to being distracted by magic and monsters. That curiosity is not to blame, but forgetting the goal at the bloodline inheritance ceremony is really disappointing. Compared to him, Saya's brothers could reach the center of the maze. This failure was only due to their lack of experience. He praised Ijin a lot for his impressive performance when facing pig and buffalo monsters. Just hearing this, Carrick was both amazed and regretful. If this little guy drinks my muscle-building medicine, then surely his body will be much more muscular. Finally, because the children conquered the maze too quickly, there was no time to prepare for the party. He ordered Lobazai to take them back first, while Evan would go with him alone to a family artifact room to choose gifts. Sin looked after very enviously because she was a child but had never been allowed by him to visit that mysterious room. After walking for a while, he started talking to his collateral line grandson Ijin, praising him for being very good at using different weapons. Although swords are symbolic weapons for families, my great-grandfather Vermau can use all kinds of weapons. However, it is not only him who has that ability, one of his comrades is also a master almost equal. Although portrayed as a troublemaker and always jealous of Vermao in stories, he never gave up but instead tried harder every day to overcome his limits and finally died honorably, sacrificing himself for his friend. Because of that, I like him more than my great-grandfather Vermao. Although what is in books is somewhat exaggerated to teach morality, hearing these words from Juliet's family made Ijin extremely moved. After a while they also arrived at a secret room deep inside the forest. Juliet shared that Ijin was the first person to enter here who belonged to Chi Thursday. Of course this was discussed with the elders of the association, including former family owners who were extremely outstanding people. Amongst the heirlooms kept there, Iron's most coveted treasure is a powerful holy sword, but it will not be easy to get. Because it is a symbol of the family, it cannot be owned by one person. Another reason is that after Vermao, no one has been recognized by the holy sword. At this time, Juliet's family began to bleed and performed the ritual to open the cellar door. The door gradually opened, revealing a shining holy sword in the center, making Ijin very excited. Despite being warned, he ignored it and still had to try his strength. It must be known that this holy sword was created by the gods from the early days of the Zuyard Empire. After a long time being sealed, it only recognized Vermao as its owner. In battle, it pierced 3 of the 5 powerful demon kings. After that, there was no other role to use, like a torch. Leading the way, Ijin confidently walked up, grabbed the holy sword tightly and slowly pulled it out. However, there was no way to make it budge. He comforted himself that even if he could pull it out, he couldn't take it outside anyway, so he had to find another treasure. Indeed, there were countless divine soldiers here that made Evan amazed. This Assel sword allows absorbing mana from those who are cut and immune to all kinds of magic. There's Panos's thunder bow shooting lightning bolts regardless of distance. The illusion sword wrapper flexibly transforms into a 100-tongue electric whip when gliding through gemstone and jewelry areas. Ijin was extremely surprised because of the necklace he always wore in his previous life. Also here, it seems to be related to the covenant of the remaining 2 demon kings with Vermao. To exchange for peace, what is that covenant? At this time, Juliet's family was extremely surprised that Ijin chose an old rough necklace. He realized that it had no spiritual power and was not even a family treasure. Because of this, he temporarily borrowed it for Tower Master Lobazai to appraise again. In addition, he allowed Ijin to choose another treasure. Immediately, he chose Winite's treasure sword containing the powerful wind spirit power of Wind King, which is difficult for anyone to match. The Saya girl strongly objected when she knew he did not choose a spear. Perhaps she is always haunted by her defeat before Carrick, also Diamond Comrade. The view that event chose the wrong weapon. It was too light compared to a muscular person, so it would be suitable as an axe or Thor hammer. He also tempted Ijin to buy enhancement medicine after drinking will dominate the world. Mentioning spears and hammers now, he remembers that there are no weapons of demon kings in storage. 300 years ago in Hell's Abyss there were 5 demon kings. At the top was Demon King of World Destruction, second place was Demon King Evil Forbidden. Third place was Demon King Madness. The last 2 ranks are Brutal Demon King and Demon King Butcher. Only 2 things are Duatus Spear and Digalat Crushing Hammer, which were captured by Vermao. Maybe it's too strong to be stored in a treasure cellar. At this time Tower Master Lobazai was present at the office at Juliet's family invitation. He immediately checked the necklace that Ijin obtained in the room. The strange treasure tried to check deeper by reading memories mana left inside the necklace. Lobazai still saw nothing special. If this is not a magic item, we will return it to Ijin. This is what the little boy wanted, to the point of giving up a pile of treasures. The next morning, Ijin and the maid met Mr. John Lien. He was Juliet's family's younger brother, very fond of conquests, so he didn't care about love and marriage. John Lien was very excited to meet the boy who led the family's bloodline inheritance ceremony. I wanted to meet you earlier but couldn't attend the ceremony because traditionally only the family owner could witness it. Today, Mr. Juliet invited you to meet privately, perhaps to congratulate you. There may be other reasons that I don't know, but from now on, if I can meet you often, I will be very happy. Ijin thanked and entered the family room where Mr. Juliet was waiting with a small banquet table to entertain him. The first thing was to hand over the necklace to Ijin. When he heard about it, the Tower Master could only check its memory within 100 years and found nothing special. Ijin was very surprised and realized that it had been covered by Vermouth's magic to hide something. However, he was still very happy and grateful to the family for allowing him to keep the necklace. The second thing Mr. Relax wanted to mention was no less important. Hearing his solemn voice, he guessed and firmly refused Cien girl, although very cute and kind, but now he did not want to think about engagement and marriage. Remembering that before now, even though he had beaten her brother Black and Blue, Cien was still very friendly with him, perhaps all in preparation for a political marriage. Ijin was busy expressing his thoughts when Julie stopped him and explained that he had misunderstood. There's no way he wants two kids to get married at such a young age of 13. He was too embarrassed to expect that his love for women would not end until his death. What he wanted to say was that he would adopt Ijin as his son if he agreed. Then we will enter your father into the main line of the family. I do this just to help your future later on without any other intention. However, if you don't want it, you won't lose my affection either, it will just be sad and regrettable for the future of a great talent. If you are admitted into the main line you will enjoy many benefits, especially learning a lot from the strongest mana person in the family. A crystal containing mana will be found in high-level monsters, but mana stones with higher efficiency are harder to refine, and at this time it is necessary to have a good teacher, all of which can only be met here. If this kid goes back to his old hometown with that lacking environment, it would be a waste for a young talent. Mr. Juliet decided that he would have to meet Ijin's father to discuss this matter. After discussing work finished at this time, Ijin on his way back felt a perfume smell emanating from the sweet bend ahead. It seems that someone is standing there. It turns out that it is Juliet's family's second wife. Unexpectedly she pretended to have just arrived and accidentally met him. Life gave her a role not acting. He also pretended to follow along to see what her conspiracy was after trying to ask about Ijin and her husband's conversation but failed. She also had to admit that this child was quite stubborn, which was not surprising because he was the one who eliminated all three mainline children in the inheritance ceremony. This kid will have a great future, so it's best to keep relationships rather than enemies. Using Cien as a marriage and political pawn is not intentional. I know I can't get any more information from Ijin. She switched to blaming her son Jianlian, who had been cheeky with him a few days ago, and pretended to apologize, promising to teach her son well and hoping that the two would have a good relationship in the future. Ijin thanked and excused himself, still feeling uneasy because of the fake deer posture, but openly opposed behind his back. In the future, he needs to be more careful with her. After 3 days of wandering from his distant homeland, Mr. Iga Ijin's father was also present at the main mansion of the family. Until now, he could not have imagined that his son would be the winner. Since childhood, he has shown more talent than others, but he is too poor to meet the conditions for developing talent. Every day he worries that when he comes here, he will be bullied because of his collateral status. But unexpectedly, suddenly a call interrupted his train of thought. It was the familiar voice of his son that made him extremely moved. Mr. Iga hurriedly ran to hug his little son tightly and cried when he saw him safe. Only now did he notice Juliet's family standing there. When did Mr. Iga startle, apologize and introduce himself? After greeting and introducing himself, Mr. Iga was extremely surprised by Juliet's offer to adopt Ijin as her son. After analyzing for a while, he agreed because he completely trusted that the boy would adapt and develop well here. The next day, a grand banquet celebrating the victory of the collateral line was still held instead of the family's embarrassment. At this time, parents also gathered to congratulate Mr. IGA. Surely that is Carrick's father's muscular name. At the party, only 2 mothers and children of 2 ladies were most inward because they heard that Ijin became part of the family. She comforted her son that no matter what, Ijin would not have a chance to compete for the position of family owner. But let's get depressed because they will always laugh at the first time in history that a mainline child cannot win and you lose too much to that kid. Instead of confronting each other, you should be friends so that in the future he will be your strong ally. Hearing this scene also had a smooth intention and was shy, not knowing how to start because he seemed very arrogant. Only MCN girl still followed Ijin's footsteps, forcing him to call her sister just because Ijin was born after her for a few months. I was born later than my brother, so I became a sister. You are younger than me by a few months, so calling me sister is more than reasonable. Despite the earnest pleading of that clever girl calling a 13-year-old kid sister, then I would rather die than return to my wife and eldest child Aeon. Although he was accepted by the Tower Master as an apprentice and promised to protect against discrimination at Chain's Tower, his mother strongly objected just because she wanted to direct her son towards becoming the owner of the family. Finally, thanks to Juliet's family intervention, Aeon successfully left his fame-hungry mother and followed Tower Master Lobe's eyes, starting a new life. Everyone gradually returned home after the party, and today is also the day Ijin will be trained in mana for the first time after being reborn. John Lian had been waiting early to lead Ijin to the family's mana vein. It is not a natural mana source, but created by Vermao himself, and 300 years ago his strength was also quite monstrous. Ijin was instructed by his teacher to sit in the middle of a large circle to start training. The original method for training mana is only for mainline children, which is white fire. John Leon's body at this time glowed like Vermeo's name in the past. Thanks to a thick layer of mana released around his body, it looked like a white gold flame burning brightly. John Leon started training by supporting some white fire mana for Ijin to feel then how to breathe properly and focus on releasing his inner strength outward. Indeed, within 10 minutes around Ijin appeared a stream of mana wrapped around his body. Leon could not have imagined that this ability would come to him. Even in the past he could not have awakened so quickly. At the end of the first training session before returning, Leon explained that each person would have a star core of the mana energy in their body. When trained to a certain point, the star core will be separated, allowing for an increase in mana. The great ancestor Vermao was the only one in the family to achieve 10 stars. My brother Juliet and I now have 6 stars, those 3 children have 1 star, and with daily training progress, they will reach 2 stars next year. I estimate that it takes 8 years to increase 1 star, but I think you will be much faster if you are not lazy. On the outside, Ijin appeared determined, but inside he laughed silently when he received mana in his body earlier. He already knew that this new body was much better than before. Combined with this white fire ritual, achieving 10 stars is just a matter of time. As soon as he returned, Ijin ordered the maid to bring him the Wind Knight treasure sword, which was the reason he tried to learn to develop mana in his body. Indeed, as soon as he received a large amount of mana transmitted from Event's core, the storm sword created a large tornado. Almost blew away the maid. In the eye of the storm there was a loud sound calling Event's name. Finally he succeeded in calling Ra, the elemental king of wind. All this time it has been in this Wind Knight sword. Even he recognized inside Ijin the soul of one of the 5 heroes of old, now reincarnated into Ijin. The main issue is why Vermao did not kill the remaining Demon Kings, and it is known that the battle at Demon King Castle was extremely difficult. But in the end it became meaningless. Vermao and Demon King Prisoner were the only 2 standing firm, but Vermao chose to seal his sword instead of killing Demon King. It seems they had some kind of covenant that you had to find out. Ijin was extremely angry because he was not satisfied with the old god's answer. Damn it, the elemental king of wind gradually faded away and disappeared. Just as Ijin collapsed from exhaustion of mana in his body. It wasn't until a day later that he woke up startled with a headache like a hammer and his hands shaking. The feeling of running out of mana is not comfortable at all. A while later, clan leader and Mr. John Leon were present to inquire about Ijin's health. All things he had heard recounted from childhood, almost Mr. could not have imagined that he had enough mana to call Ra an elemental spirit. Ijin knew that God had come to see him on his own initiative and everything should not be revealed until it is clear. He scratched his head and laughed falsely, saying maybe he just wanted to see who owned the sword. He said he was looking forward to seeing you again when you grew up, then immediately returned to his realm. After everyone left, Ijin picked up his sword again and looked at it. A while later he transmitted the remaining meager amount of mana into it to call Elemental King again. Indeed, a wind rose again, as if appearing only as a small female spirit, even so weak that she could not communicate. But it seems she understood her contemptuous owner, so she angrily flew past Ijin's face and disappeared. After quite a long time, Ijin started his morning by admiring himself in front of the mirror with his body. Now he is 17 years old and possesses 3 stars of white fire ritual in him. He immediately ran a stream of mana, releasing it from his body, creating a huge pressure with 3 shining star cores in front of his chest. Seeing this was extremely shocking, because clearly he practiced earlier than 7 years but only had 2 stars himself. No wonder I never once defeated that Ijin guy in training battles. Sin was even more shocked when he heard Ijin wanted to go to Chain's Tower to learn more about magic. If this continues, Ijin will go very far and I won't be able to catch up. Sin then reasoned that if Ijin went to train at Chain's Tower, Sin would be very sad. But Ijin ignored it. For the past year, that strange girl has not bothered to talk to anyone and always practiced alone. At this time, Juliet's family was extremely surprised that Ijin wanted to leave here to go to Chain's Tower to learn magic. At your age, no one has ever achieved 3 stars. If you continue to try and work hard like now, you can achieve 4 stars before adulthood. But when Ijin expressed his desire to learn in other fields and did not want to be bound by the status of a father, he also did not want to hinder his child's desire to learn. I understand your intention, but promise me one thing: don't get involved in black magic. That black tower is where black magicians gather. Unlike the dark history they have caused now, there are no dangerous rumors there. But we are descendants of the great Vermau family, so the unwritten rule is to fight against black magic. Ijin knew what disgusting things they had done 300 years ago. So without thinking he immediately promised Juliet's family, I also hate black magic, so there will be no chance of joining them. In the end, Ijin succeeded. Asked the family for permission to leave the tower. When walking down the corridor he heard a knock on Cien girl's room. The girl from inside spoke out, calling Ijin closer to talk because she had just finished practicing and was sweating, so she didn't want to go outside. Cien had known early on that Ijin was about to leave here to go to Chain's Tower for training, so he wanted to stop it. Anyway, there are many ways to learn magic without having to leave here. And if you go now, my skills in chains may surpass you before then. What do I have to do for you to quit going to Chain's Tower? Because this training will take many years and is extremely difficult. During that time your father will miss both Uncle John and Brother Sion too. When I heard him tell your story, I clearly saw that he didn't want you to go. In the end, Ijin still decided to leave here and encouraged Cien to practice hard. Hearing this, her heart suddenly beat once and felt tight again. Until she heard footsteps, she opened the door and saw that Cien was no longer here. Terrible stuff, not even listening to me yet. Actually, I don't want you to go either. After that there was only sobbing in the cold training room, the magic gate where Tower Master Lobezai created for the Vermau family. At this time Ijin had received everyone's approval and prepared for a long and arduous training journey. Perhaps the happiest person in this matter is only the stepmother. This relieves pressure for her son's position. She was in high spirits, then Cien also had to frown when looking at her. Dad, don't cry anymore, okay? Just now it was still normal, right? When I'm about to leave then you're like this again. Even if Dad cries, I won't stay anyway. At least Dad should say goodbye with a smiling face, right? Listen, he tried wiping away tears and smiling, sending his little son on his way. At this point, there were no more obstacles, so Evan also laughed along, wishing everyone to take care and see you all later. Speaking of the Magic Kingdom, where Chain's Tower is located, is extremely wonderful. It is called Jiak 5 because there are 5 magic towers forming a pentagon shape, taking the palace as the center. Previously, Ijin had sat on the broomstick of his crush, the witch Shana, but the feeling of sitting in a modern car was still better. From above, he saw that the city now was very different from his previous life. These floating islands are only available in the Magic City. It is an aerial station to place a teleport gate, supported by many different spells. It symbolizes the excellence of magic here and brings convenience and economic benefits. Ijin sat in the car with a guide and was introduced to many things in this new world by him. There are a total of 15 aerial stations, all created by wise Sienna. Ijin guessed that this magic car was also created by her. Although this technology has been around for 100 years, it has been regularly repaired, so the accident rate is very low. The guide continued to introduce for a while, then was stopped by Ijin and requested to visit Truciana Mansion. That's a great choice because it's one of 3 places to go when you come to Jiak 5 City. 300 years ago, after returning from Hell, Sienna rebuilt Jiak 5 City and built a mansion to live in. 200 years ago she suddenly left and only left a letter saying she wanted to retire without any further information. After that, her disciples and many other magicians across the country tried to investigate her whereabouts but failed. The most special thing about this story is that she disappeared on her birthday. I guess she returned to Hell maybe because she regretted a teammate who had sacrificed, so she wanted to come back to commemorate or want to take revenge for her teammate. Maybe you don't know about the last words of that hero for Sienna. Where? That's right, away Ijin roared, stopping the guide. Don't make up nonsense about my death anymore. Seeing his surprised face, he realized he had misspoken and resisted. What I mean is, what is written in books is just what they want to exaggerate. Only the guide continued his story. Everyone knows that Sienna strongly opposed Black Magic Tower and always wanted to destroy it. There is a theory that it was the Violet magicians who supported Black Magic Tower who assassinated Sienna. Ijin immediately concluded that there would never be a chance for those lowly black magicians to kill Sienna. They might not be strong enough, but if it was a demon king it would be very likely. The 2 remaining demon kings are still communicating with this city through Black Magic Tower. Sienna's existence is probably their biggest obstacle. Those bastards will definitely have to pay. After walking for a while, Ijin finally arrived. In front of him was a magnificent mansion with a long line of people praying, looking very worried as if praying for something difficult. The guide said just found out they are preparing for the magic entrance exam because they are poor, so they can only stand outside. Because getting inside costs quite a lot of money. However, Evan, alone as a descendant of Great Vermal, the guards immediately invited him inside without causing any difficulty. Now let's explore how she lives. Walk along the corridor for a while. He saw that this mansion was too large. She had lived for 100 years in this desolate place. Ijin recalled his conversation with Sienna after killing the Mad Demon King. She asked him what his future plans were after returning. Indeed, at that time Evan was called stupid, and it was not wrong because he spent his youth just to sell his life here. Absolutely not thinking about his own happiness after everything was over. At least that bastard on the other side also had future aspirations, wanting to become an emperor. No matter how crazy, it was also his dream. People have the right to dream. Being serious, then Ijin stupidly teased her for getting drunk too much. It's so cheesy that my hands and feet are shaking all over now. Seeing Anna so angry, Ijin stopped teasing and asked her what her plans were for the future. Hearing this, she blushed shyly. I want a simple life like everyone else, that is getting married, then having children and becoming a grandmother. Ijin, stupid until now, still did not understand why Ziana did not follow her wishes but was lonely for 100 years like that unconsciously. His hand raised to touch the painting of his crush. Suddenly a soldier shouted to stop, making Ijin startled. The wise man of his family was coming to an emotional part, then dropped one. He now remembered that he didn't come here just to see a painting. According to previous research, under the entire basement is a large library, indeed true to Ziana's style. It is very magnificent and gold-plated. All magic books are neatly arranged on the shelves, but some books have disappeared. He believes this is the clue she left behind. While analyzing, the soldier came back to warn not to touch it. Really a lot of trouble now, even opening books is not allowed. I can only glance at their titles. After going everywhere and searching, Ijin finally returned to where the painting was hung in the main hall. Clearly, I have a feeling she left something behind, but all day I couldn't find anything. Hey Ziana, if you don't like this middle finger, come find me yourself. Tell me everything if you're still alive. Now it's dark. The guide with a wrinkled face congratulated the guest on completing his tour, but he suddenly changed color happily when Ijin compensated him with 1 gold coin for his work. Waiting for a long time afterwards, he asked to take him to Zichma Fap, ending his first day here taking advantage of the long journey on the flying car. Ijin wanted to learn about his brother Aeon, who was also studying at Chain's Tower, but seeing the strange hunched appearance of the guide Hen knew it seemed this was not easy to say, so he persuaded, "That's my brother, he's been here for 4 years, after being adopted, then I never got to talk to Aeon even once. I need to know some things about him so as not to cause trouble when meeting him. Tell me rumors about him." Until he saw Aegon promise on his honor that he would not be angry about anything, then he agreed to speak. But before the saliva dried on his lips, Ijin rose again, making the guide startled and frightened, unable to imagine that Aeon bastard. Every night he goes out with some bird girls. This is not Heimus. Where did those birds come from? The poor guide kept begging Aegon to be less angry, maybe not needing to go to Heimus, but everything originated from the dark black magic tower. Besides the necromancers, there are many demons. More precisely, the rumors do not stop at saying that he plays normally, but even more. This city is famous for having an abandoned alley used to accommodate illegal activities. That alley is famous for its black market, but there are a few improper shops specializing in using succubus as a service. Bolero Alley does not open every day because it only becomes a place of temptation when the moon is full. Although Ijin had no intention of getting involved with Aeon, thinking about him being a descendant of one of the heroes and going to fornicate with those filthy demons, if this is true, then I'm not sure I can restrain myself from slapping his mother to death. At this point, Evan had just stepped to the gate and was greeted by assistant waiting to receive him. Suddenly a loud explosion shattered the window on the 3rd floor of the tower, but little Hera didn't seem surprised at all. She smiled shyly, explaining that it was for summoning class and often encountered some accidents. Just finished speaking, then 2 mischievous demons rushed straight out. Before they could make trouble, they were caught tightly by magic hands and squeezed to death mercilessly. Fortunately, Tower Master Lobazai was present in time to prevent dangerous germs. He glanced down with an extremely angry face, scolding his students for becoming more and more talented. After all, why did you summon lava sharks from the summoning spell? Did you guys summon a bunch of monsters like that? Do you know if you let those stinky things out, then the capital's people will be in danger? Clean up and get out in anger. Suddenly the Tower Master noticed a strange force. Now he noticed that Ijin was waiting for him below, so he slowly flew down. It's really different for guests, so he changed his face right away. The Tower Master happily welcomed Ijin to Chain's Tower. For years have passed, only Ijin is much taller, while the Tower Master does not age due to using magic but still retains youthfulness. But Ijin, because he was trained in mana, so he could see a big change. Lo Bijai was incredibly strong. Although compared to Ziana it is not significant, but with this huge amount of mana he is completely suitable as the owner of the magic tower. Lobazai introduced that magic is an extremely attractive art, but at the same time very difficult to learn. But with Ijin's ability he will surely comprehend very quickly. Suddenly there was a sound of pulling the door, making the tower master pay attention, unconsciously frowning. Without saying anything, just with one look, Loburia conjured up a gust of wind blowing open the door, and saw a skinny young man sneaking inside. That was Aeon, the eldest son and the family descendant of the great hero Vermao. Ijin felt angry looking at that dog's name. His appearance must have been sucked dry by succubus. Aeon heard the tower master call him over to greet his brother, making him startled, hunched over, stuttering, unable to speak in complete sentences. Ijin, with an angry face looking at him disgustingly, said hello, very happy to see him again, seeing Ielts still standing there unable to say anything. The tower master ordered him upstairs to finish reading yesterday's book debt. After he left, the two exchanged plans for training here. Ijin chose not to ask the tower master directly for teaching because of his brother's incident, which caused him no small criticism from other magicians, so temporarily he wanted to learn magic himself to see how far his ability goes. During a month of training at Chain's Tower, every day Ijin went to the magic library, where there was an endless source of knowledge. He read magic books from morning to night and only went to sleep when it was late. Early in the morning, before going to the library, was the time he practiced mana and swordsmanship. Although the rest time was very short, just sleeping for a few meter hours was enough for Ijin to shake off all fatigue. Today is also the last day in the knowledge accumulation phase. Ijin decided to start practicing using magic. According to the foundation of magic created by Xiana, the most basic method to create magic is a spell array, using a magic circle to practice mana. Whenever the amount of mana exceeds the limit of a spell array, a new spell array will be born. However, Ijin knew that this was not the only way to learn magic. He asked Hera to support him in trying out Vermeo's mana training method. Hera advised that not using spell arrays would be very easy to lose control of mana, leading to internal injuries and even more serious death. But Evan had decided nothing could shake him, so she had to go along with it, but if she felt something dangerous would happen she had to intervene, otherwise if he had any fate then she and Tower Master would be in trouble. The training session quickly began. Ijin immediately ran a large stream of mana spreading outside his body. In fact, in essence, the white fire ceremony and spell array are quite similar. With the white fire ceremony, mana is stored in stars in the heart. With spell arrays, mana is anchored by a magic circle. If stars can be replaced with spell arrays, then the amount of mana stored will be extremely large, or still outside, still in position to prevent accidents from happening. But she was very surprised by Ijin's performance when he could control a huge amount of mana perfectly without any being dissipated outside, completely maximized. At this time Evan had successfully called out a hot ball, then focused on supplying mana into it and gradually transformed it into a magic arrow technique. The law was implemented and transformed accurately just using thought without having to recite it after achieving its goal. Evan asked Hera to summon a monster so he could test the strength of the newly created spell. Hera thought for a while and guessed that a medium-sized golem would be suitable for both of them to control. Immediately she set up a magic gate, summoning a stone golem monster with bright eyes. Not letting it attack first, Evan immediately directed the magic arrow towards the golem and shot straight at it, creating a concentrated and powerful light trail. At this time Tower Master Lobazai was meditating on Evan's work with the unfortunate golem. He couldn't have imagined that Evan could create this attacking spell array with white fire ceremony. Hera also confirmed that in terms of magic classification his attack power has surpassed a level 3 magician, truly amazing. He used martial arts mana training methods to apply to magic extremely proficiently. Perhaps Evan's white fire ceremony has now reached 3 stars, simply equivalent to a level 3 magician. Upon returning to the room, he was still impressed with Evan. Right now he had gone out to handle something. Lobazai considered for a while whether to write a letter of introduction for Evan to the Royal Library of Agrion. He had noticed that his level had fully met the standards to enter a place full of high-level magicians. In the past month, he had grasped all the basic magic knowledge and created a death spell array in his heart. That magic had penetrated the hard defensive shell of a mature golem. This is all we can do to treat a great talent. If magicians object, it is also because they are blinded by jealousy. We will resolutely protect Evan to the end. Outside the center of the Magic City is the most beautiful place, highlighting the statue of the great magician Ziana. Her face was carved with a cunning, winning smile that Evan, standing below, also had to admit. Every time she won, she laughed like that. Suddenly he noticed someone standing next to him looking at him. Just now he looked very ragged and familiar, as if he had met somewhere. Even knew his name. Stunned for a moment, Evan suddenly realized in the dark that he was Carrick Muscle. 18 years old, but has a beard like a young old man like this. Although his appearance has changed greatly in terms of physique, Black's personality until his last breath is no different from when he was a child. He hurriedly pulled out a bottle of inherited muscle growth medicine and gave it to Evan. But he refused quickly, probably because the goods were so unsold that his whole family had to always go direct marketing. So back to today's main story. Evan took the initiative to find Lobazai. As soon as he knew that he had just come here because of Bolero Alley, he wanted him to go there with him to see the auction of giant testicles. Evan thought he heard wrong, but looking at his serious appearance, it seemed that he was extremely craving it. Gachis explained that those testicles were the main ingredient for making muscle growth medicine, especially because he wanted to sell it to a famous alchemist in Outthor. Please go with me because this time the economy is in recession, so I'm afraid I won't have enough money to buy it. He even knelt down and begged, making everyone around extremely surprised. In addition, his large body also attracted too much attention only when Evan hurriedly stopped him before agreeing to stand up. Thank you. I swear in my honor that I will pay you both principal and interest if I can sell the medicine. How long it will take Evan will not be able to guess for a long time. It is said that there are also countless powerful gods there, but Ejin is not interested. What he cares about is that street, remembering a few days ago he caught Io walking along the corridor in the magic tower. That guy showed signs of being infected with Suku's separation symptoms and tonight's full moon, so I must go to Bolero Alley. Just back then Evan received news that Lobazai was looking for him, not knowing what was going on, but conveniently he also wanted to ask about Aeon. Every time Lobazai met Evan was very happy like that. Today I want to meet you to report some good news, Lobazai said, then took out a sealed red letter by hand and gave it to Evan. That is an introduction letter for Evan to enter Agrion Royal Academy, written by Tower Master Lobazai himself. From 300 years ago it was considered the cradle of magic. Now all the essence of magic development is poured into it. All famous magicians like now are graduated from Agrion and out. Although very much wanting, Evan knew he needed to be humble again, citing himself as too young to be recognized. In which Tower Master Lobazai confidently reassured that on the contrary, this is the perfect time for you to enter Agrion because now you have been exposed to many magics, so there will be many potentials. Although he may not be able to fully understand the records in Arian, reading the books there and memorizing them will help him expand his knowledge a lot. Indeed, Agrion contains both ancient magic and records of the greatest sages in each era. The most valuable is still the 3 books that Ziana wrote with all her secret knowledge. It is considered the greatest magic book in history. The city does not have any publications of witchcraft allowed to circulate outside Agrion. Currently, only one is circulated internally, while the rest are locked in a sealed basement. But that's enough to consider other books useless when you start reading the first book of witchcraft. I realized that the magic I had spent my previous life learning was nothing but child's play. There is nothing to guarantee that this introduction letter is enough for you to enter Agrion, but I still want to ask your opinion on this matter. In his heart Ejin laughed secretly with joy, but on the outside he still showed worry. This will cause trouble for Tower Master. Lobazai reassured that here he was the highest authority, so rest assured that no one could make it difficult. However, Ejin was still worried inside because what he was about to say would surely cause a backlash for Tower Master. He immediately mentioned Io, hoping that he would not withdraw the introduction letter because of this matter. It's about rumors that Iet doesn't focus on learning magic but spends time with Suku. Indeed, Lobazai was startled, proving that he knew well about Iet's behavior. He awkwardly explained that he really knew about this and had warned many times but couldn't stop it. In the past, many people had died from being sucked dry by Suku, but when Himet opened his seal, the demons completely changed their behavior. They still suck human essence but don't kill anyone anymore. The Nightmare Queen and Himet strictly forbade it. As for Ielts, he left home 4 years ago and brought great expectations with him. But his talent was not enough to meet those expectations. He had gone through many difficulties. We also tried our best to guide but couldn't help much either. But for his family's reputation, Ielts couldn't give up those expectations. Surely his pressure grows bigger every day, so I think occasionally letting him relieve some of his pressure isn't bad either. I warned him not to sink too deep, otherwise if it weren't for that he would have collapsed much earlier. Ijin also understood Tower Master's worries because for 4 years living with the mainstream he also knew about the deep-seated tension inside. Everything originated from 2 parents according to Nissa's hot-tempered and Anisola's scheming cunning, followed by Scene and Sion, both talented and ambitious people. Since living with them, Ielts has always been under great pressure. He would rather stay in this magic tower even if he always received mocking words than having to return to his home. But none of this can justify seeking out Suku less. They may still smile politely, but their nature is still demons. Never have people and demons live peacefully together. Suddenly it was midnight with the full moon hanging high. Bolero Alley was bustling now, completely opposite to the quietness outside. At this time, Ijin and Carrick had successfully disguised themselves to infiltrate this place. Carrick still didn't understand why he didn't go straight but had to use displacement technique. This idiot didn't think about people recognizing. They are Vermeo's family, and spreading it out would harm the family's reputation. Then Ijin opened a communication device for someone else, preparing to enter the position. It turned out that before that, the tour guide had been hired to track down Aeon because there was no fool here that he didn't know. Aegon worried that if Aeon also used displacement techniques it would be difficult to detect. But when he heard that Aeon didn't use displacement technique and always wore the right cloak, Aegon was furious and cursed the dog's name. Like getting attention with that identity, right? If he were my child I would beat him to death. Carrick realized that Ijin had something else to solve, so he offered to help. But Ijin didn't need it. I can handle this myself. Now go to the auction first, knowing that Bolero Street has countless auctions but all have the same rules. Except for the person accompanying everyone else is in separate rooms and cannot check who is participating. There are 3 buttons in each room if you want to participate. Press the middle button if you want to raise the price, press the right button and press the left button if you want more help. After hearing the introduction, Ijin guessed that this place must be a stronghold of countless black magicians doing shady things. He was very curious about what would be here. A while later the magic curtain was opened. Inside was the host with a mysterious box next to it. Thank you everyone for coming to the auction center on such a beautiful full moon night like this. Usually our auctions have special rare magic items such as items in the magic realm. Hamut has extremely high quality. The first item today is 3 lyric horns. Indeed, the following items were also very strange: from Proscia's Divine Apple Tree, Manda Ghost Ginseng Root, until Juge's Resurrection Flower Bud, but what both were waiting for still did not appear. Once again suspecting that the reproductive organ of that giant will not appear. Carrick is now also starting to worry about it. After all, it's just a rumor. The next item is a metal we have not yet identified. It is heartbreaking that we have not been able to sell it for quite some time now. Perhaps one of today's guests will see the value of this piece of metal. This metal was found in a sand area. It emits a beautiful light when it meets moonlight, but it can't do anything else. It is difficult to change its shape as well as to attract magic. We believe that if you buy it to decorate your bedroom window, then it is a great choice. Anyway, the light it emits is extremely beautiful. We will start with 1 million. As he spoke, he opened the wooden box, then feeling sleepy. Suddenly Ejin woke up with the image in front of him, immediately slammed into the blue agree button, making Carrick very panicked. Even the host was confused, confirming Ejin's decision again. He shouted a price of 1,500,000. Couldn't expect to see it in a place like this. That was a piece of the glorious moonlight sword destruction, creating a sword shape never mentioned in history before. In the end, no one offered a higher price, so the sword piece was awarded to Ejin. Carrick was still not over his surprise, not knowing what Ejin thought when he spent a large amount of money just exchanging for a piece of rock, but Ejin just focused on it and confirmed that its energy emitted was indeed from Moonlight Sword. Remembering in his past life, singing was the place where he and his teammates discovered the Moonlight Sword. It was in one of the deepest dungeons. Except for Vermao, the cursed sword refused to accept anyone as its owner. The Moonlight Sword was too dangerous, always bringing destruction whenever it appeared. Vermao later smashed it into small pieces, perhaps not wanting it to fall into the hands of evil. Holding the broken piece in his hand, Ejin realized that its energy had also decreased a lot and no longer felt the fear it once possessed. Suddenly the phone rang, reporting that Io had appeared. Ejin hurriedly put on his coat, greeted Carrick, and did not forget to lend him his card. In here it will probably be enough for him to buy a pair of giant testicles. Following the guide's instructions, Ejin quickly turned away from the crowded crowd and headed north to the Buffalo Horn liquor store. Indeed, this place was very unusual because it was guarded by 2 large buffalo demons. Involuntarily, Ejin felt angry because this was the first time he met them again after reincarnation. He should have killed them as soon as he saw them. He calmed down slowly and asked to go inside. The entrance fee is 2 million, helping to collect additional fees depending on the duration and type of dream. Ejin didn't think much, pulled out 2 sets of 1 million and walked in. If they were human, they would probably get an extra set. Indeed, inside were all noisy faces along with the seductive invitations of Succu. Ejin was looking around for Io when a demoness carrying wine came over. By the way, he asked about the dream service, making her blush with excitement. Don't be so hasty with this lovely young man. Is this your first time here? Dreams are in rooms on the lower floor, but you should drink something first. If you drink a little, you will be able to say what you really want. Seeing that the young man still refused and asked to be led there immediately, the demoness thought that this guest was shy, so she didn't force him but led him down to the lower floor while introducing him. The service here is better than other places. Because we only take a little essence, although tomorrow may be a little tired, but that is enough for you to feel refreshed. At this time Ejin had grasped the diagram of the building's corridor. He pulled out a set of bow for the demoness, saying that he changed his mind and wanted to go home to sleep, making her very panicked. Like receiving such a large amount of money, there is no doubt she immediately led him away at the back gate, stepping into a restaurant. Ejin called up a banquet and chewed on a pile of food while waiting. He knew that somehow Aeon would have to pass by here just a moment later. At the gate appeared a person wearing a cloak, being led by 2 demons. That was Aeon, that damn bastard, being a star leader of the family, who could not only play with Suku but also ask for help from demons. Ejin quickly followed them along the alley and kept enough distance not to be detected. A while later they stopped at a dead end where there was a mysterious house. Seeing them go inside and close the door, Ejin immediately ran over, but someone had discovered and blocked the way. 3 muscular bullies blocked across, not letting Ejin in, and chased away. This is not any store, so get out right away. Seeing Ejin still standing still, the leader was very angry. He rushed over, grabbed Ejin's neck, intending to beat him up. Although not having an advantage in physique, but with just 1 punch on his chin, Ejin threw him into midair unconscious immediately. The other 2 quickly drew their weapons and rushed up, also defeated in 1 move, face down on the road smelling dirt. Tell me what this place does. Seeing him hesitatingly saying unclearly, because he had lost all his money, his leg kicked to fly the rest of the gangster's jaw, then stepped in to find out for himself would be faster. Ijin kicked the old door hard, it just fell down, revealing a dark room filled with misty smoke. Looking at this stinky image, it must be drugs, that damn Aeon had exhaled too much. Before he could go deep inside, he was discovered by 3 other demons. They panicked when they saw a stranger because they had clearly hired door guards. Seeing them, Evan laughed out loud, not expecting that there would be a human, a beast man and a demon joining hands to trade opium here. It is true that the races cooperate and develop together. But without saying anything else, he fired 3 magic arrows at the 3 gangsters. Before rushing in, they were hit and fell. This time Evan learned from experience and was lighter, so the beast man was not dead yet. But there are too many customers, so he doesn't know which room the person he is looking for is in. Everything comes to hand. Ijin is no longer accommodating, immediately pulls out the storm sword and transmits mana into it, then performs a series of tornadoes, destroying each room one way or another, then also destroys this place. So all this floor has no traces, so only the attic remains. Ijin fired a giant magic arrow, destroying the floor above, then flew up directly to inspect. Indeed, up here there is only one room. He was also served very specially, but suddenly felt that the door was not normal, as if it was emitting a strong stream of black magic. Ijin pulled out the moonlight sword fragment and saw it react and glow. Thank you all for watching the videos. Please help me with 1 subscription to reach 1,000 subs for my channel. Thank you very much.